peanut butter, and pistachio oil, and water, and sugar, and salt. But what it doesn't have is milk, or cream, or eggs. It happens to be a vegan gelato. Now, I've had non-dairy ice creams and gelatos before. They pale in comparison. But the point is not that this is vegan. The point is that we've made a gelato that is not diluted with the flavor of milk or the flavor of eggs. We've made a gelato that's purely about the flavor of pistachios. And again, that's one of the core things that we're driving to.
That too?
The key to making this pistachio gelato work is emulsification. It's holding the fat and the water together in phase so they don't separate out. And we do that in two ways. The first is that we use a rotor-stator homogenizer, which is a very fancy type of blender. A traditional blender will push a blade against the inertia of food and shear the food that way. A rotor-stator homogenizer has a spinning piece that's surrounded by a collar, and the gap between the spinning piece and the collar is very, very narrow. Food gets sucked into that gap and then sheared between the wall of the spinning piece and the collar. And that allows you to create mixtures where the largest particle is only 10 microns. It's a laboratory tool. They're pretty expensive these days, but there's no reason that that wouldn't become home technology in the near future. The other thing that we do to emulsify our gelato is we use hydrocolloids. We use substances that help bind together the phases of the fat and water, so it holds everything together in this mixture. Now we're churning our gelato, and you've probably seen people churn ice cream with liquid nitrogen. It's a very popular thing to do on television, and of course it's a dramatic effect. You get, all the fog that comes out, and you look pretty badass while you're doing it, and that's all really great. But there's a reason. We're not just doing it to look cool. We're doing it because you get a better mouthfeel from quickly frozen ice creams or frozen desserts than you do when you freeze slowly. And it all has to do with ice crystal formation. The size of the ice crystals that get generated inside an ice cream depend on how quickly it's frozen. If you freeze your ice cream very slowly, you develop these large crystals, and you can actually feel those crystals with your tongue when you eat that ice cream. If you've ever had an ice cream that tastes grainy or coarse or sandy, that's what you're feeling. You're feeling those large ice crystals. But with liquid nitrogen, since it's so cold, we're freezing this ice cream extremely quickly, and that creates very small ice crystals that are evenly distributed through the ice cream. And that's what gives us that extremely smooth mouthfeel. It also means you don't have to store freezer bowls ahead of time. This gelato is one of our most popular recipes to serve to people. People really get a kick out of it. If you happen to attend our earlier session, we handed out some samples. I hope everybody loved that. But you can apply the same idea to plenty of other flavors. Hazelnut is exactly the same thing. Buy some hazelnuts from the store, roast them, put them in the Cuisinart until you get hazelnut butter, add some hazelnut oil, a little water, sugar, and you can actually emulsify this with xanthan gum, which is available commonly in grocery stores under the Bob's Red Mill brand or other brands, and a little tapioca starch, and you can make something that very closely mimics this recipe. Peanut, cashew, any nut that has a good fat content, you can achieve the same thing. But what's really fundamentally important is that this has opened up our thinking about making, for example, ice creams. We always assume, oh, you need milk or cream or eggs, but that's no longer the case. Like Max talked about breaking down those barriers, they're removed, and we think that'll lead to interesting possibilities as a result.